Hello, hello. Welcome to Revelator Alf, the Big Mag Show, the live stream radio show, live podcast, whatever you want to call it. I keep on changing the intro of these things. Today is all about Harley Davidson. It's all about the big announcement. What announcement are they going to make? And what does it mean for you and I and, well, Harley Davidson fans all around the world? Is this going to be a quantum shift for Harley Davidson? Are they going to do something that nobody expected? Well, I'm going to dig into that a little bit later, but it's all about this mob. So I've been doing a bit of digging around this week on some stories around the world, and for Harley Davidson, this is purely a Harley Davidson show. So if you saw my video the other day when I talked about the new motorcycle colors for 2023. Now that was not the definitive list, obviously, because we don't know what the new motorcycles are going to be, and also it really depends, of course, which market as well. So there might be some variations there. I've got another video coming out tomorrow with all the motorcycles that have pretty much it's a really good bet now that they're going to be cancelled for next year. And a lot of this is based upon color codes, but also part codes as well for next year. And this is what's been sort of sent my way, as it were. And you're probably going to see a few more other, let's say, YouTube channels sort of mentioning this over the next few weeks. All I would say, just one word of caution here, whenever you're going online or also watching YouTube channels, especially, there are some out there that are saying that, this is the latest bike for 2023. These are all the latest bikes for 2023. Well, actually, they're not. They're giving you pictures and video footage of old stock, old motorcycles, and they're just putting two and two together. So just be aware of that. There's a lot of false information, as it were, in this, because I was actually trying to find corroborating YouTube channels out there or websites that would say, oh yeah, what I've received, they've already received as well. So there's a lot of faff out there. Anyway, let me just get on to some news. Now, this is I'm not 100% sure on this whether this is for UK, Europe, or global. Okay, so this next story, I'm just going to get straight into it. Okay, so this next story is about Harley Davidson, of course, because I'm talking about Harley Davidson. Okay, now this magazine, there are a few magazines, online publications that are talking about this right now, and they're saying that Harley Davidson have, for all the bikes, all the current bikes that have the Revolution Max engine. Okay, so that's the Pan America Special S, the Knights, the 975, and the Sports S, of course, with the 1250. If you buy it or reserve it between the 19th of November, which is just a few days ago, of course, and the 31st of December of 2022, instead of 2-year warranty, they're going to give you a 4-year warranty. Now, obviously, this is just a huge selling tool. Okay, they're just trying to sell a lot of bikes, or sell a lot of older bikes, perhaps, or sell a lot of early bikes into 2023. But right now, if you go and buy a Revolution Max engine powered bike, let's put it that way, the Knights of Sports or the Pan America, you'll get 4 years warranty instead of 2. Now, the question I suppose is, let me just quickly show you who this publication is from. I can't remember who this is from. This is Superbike News, I think this is from. I think some other publications are carrying the same story, like Visor Down as well, if you want to have a look at that. But say they're all saying this now. The question is, for me, why is it just for this period? Why can't they offer a 4-year warranty anyway? Okay, let's just leave the M8 engines aside, or the M8 engine bikes aside, and just you say you just want to keep those as a 2-year warranty. Fine. If you're going to offer a 4-year warranty for just a month, just over a month, 6-week period. But why don't you just offer it for the Revolution Max engines full stop? I just don't I just don't fully understand the reasoning here for this. The reasoning obviously is just to sell bikes. It's just a quick push and say, look, we'll give you 4-year warranty if you take these bikes on right now. But my answer is, well, or my question, I should say, my question is, why don't you offer that all the time? So, it's I mean, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. But so that's right now. Now, please go and check your local Harley Davidson dealership wherever you are in the world, of course, on this, because I do not know for sure whether this just relates to the UK, Europe, or indeed the United States and Canada, or Australia, or whatever, or anywhere in the world. I actually don't know, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can, of course, in this regard. But anyway, so that was this story. I just thought it was really interesting. I first heard about it about a few days ago. Obviously, there were some whisperings at the Motorcycle Live show, or sorry, prior to the Motorcycle Live show, that this was going to happen, but I didn't hear of it officially. Then it's good that a couple of publications are coming out with it. So if you haven't heard about this, then look at this option if you're really interested in buying these bikes, and you might just get a 2-year extra warranty. But as I say, why are they're not doing it? But there we go. Okay, right. So that is the one story. So the next story from Harley Davidson. I like this story, and it's not necessarily from Harley Davidson, but it's about Harley Davidson bikes. I like this story, and I'll tell you why. Okay. So this is a story, and it's an old story. I've also got to say that it's an old story, that there's a Harley Davidson graveyard somewhere in the United Kingdom, in the southwest of the country, in a place called Devon, in the county of Devon. Now, the backstory to this is this: that during World War II, American forces were, before D-Day, okay, American forces were all stationed in this area in the southwest of the country, and they took over the area. They completely took over the area for weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months, right? And they were practicing, and the beaches down there look a little bit like the D-Day beaches, Normandy beaches as well. So basically, they were practicing. A huge thing. Lots of people had to be relocated just to accommodate them and everything like that. Anyway, when D-Day happened, of course, it went very, very quickly. And they all obviously went off to fight the war, and brave souls they were too. But what happened was that they didn't take everything with them. In fact, a lot of stuff was left behind. And in fact, they didn't even bother to transport it. They just dug big holes and buried these bikes. Now, I say that because this is really interesting. Okay, there's an area near me. There used to be a US Air Force base. And if you've ever heard of it in the UK, you would have heard of Greenham Common. Okay, so Greenham was a US Air Force base back in the day. I think it was closed down in the early 80s, mid 80s, something like that. And there's always been a rumor that lots of US military vehicles, let's say Jeeps and not tanks, I don't think, but certainly Jeeps and vehicles and motorcycles are buried there as well. But they've tried to do Doppler radar kind of ground penetration radar scans of it, I'm sure, and they haven't found anything. But that's still the issue there, right? And this is quite a common thing where military forces that vacate an area, they don't bother taking their stuff with them a lot of the time. They just dig a big hole and bury it. Now, that was certainly back in the day. I can't speak for modern military maneuvers, but I'm assured that it still happens. The process because it costs too much money to bring vehicles, let's say, that aren't really that valuable back, let's say. So they just leave them be. Anyway, so this story from Devon is basically they've got Harley Davidson graveyard that's buried in the fields of Devon. And these Harley Davidson, these WA 45s are still in their crates. They're still there. And what they were done, they were all covered in grease so that obviously they wouldn't rust. And then they're just buried in some kind of, don't know, wherever it is. Now, they've tried to look for this time and time again. And unfortunately, what's happened is that the people with the first-hand accounts of this, obviously they've all died now because it's been so many years, and a lot of it was fell into urban myth and folklore and all that sort of stuff. But apparently there are still people looking for it. There are still people, they say it could be next to an industrial area, it could be in some fields. They're so they're almost like treasure hunters. So can you imagine if anybody ever found something like this? Because they found a load of Spitfires a few years ago. I can't remember where it was, and I think a lot of them were all rusty as well. They found a whole load of cars. They keep on finding these caches of cars and vintage cars somewhere, don't they? And you hear about these stories from time to time. And so this is another one. So can you imagine a whole heap of Harley Davidsons, WLA 45s, just perfectly preserved, let's say. Can you imagine the story behind that as well? Can you imagine? But anyway, I thought it's a great little story, and I think it's yes, it's an old story, and it just keeps on coming up and up. But I think it's just an interesting thing that it does keep on coming up, and there are people still actively trying to look for these things as well, which I find really interesting. But anyway, so that was the story of that one. Okay, let's get back to something more serious, I suppose. This is the next story is from, well, it's about Pan America, really, in particular. And this has come out in a couple of stories as well. This is a company, a German company called Wunderlich. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Wunderlich. And basically, they produce a lot of. Parts for BMW motorcycles. However, they recently launched aftermarket parts for adventure bikes. And one of their bikes that they're making parts for is, guess what? Yes, the Pan America. So they've got lots of little parts there here, and parts and accessories. The latest one, which was featured in a few of the motorcycle magazines this week, is this Wunderlich windshield flow jet, and it's in black. The interesting thing here, it's only 79 euros, or just under 80 euros, and it includes the VAT. It excludes shipping. But actually, that seems to be quite cheap for me. And they've got lots of other things as well, handlebar risers. A lot of this is all black plastic or hard plastic or whatever it is. They've got seats, different comfort seats, this kind of thing. They've got lots of stuff, but I just thought it was quite interesting that there's a German manufacturer. They're making specific products for Harley Davidson Pan America. Now, I'm sure there are other manufacturers out there, let's say in the United States, who are doing this exactly the same thing. But what I liked about this was, one, that it's kind of black stuff. I like that kind of stuff, but I think it looks kind of be well designed. But I think the price is reasonable as well, especially in this day and age where prices are going up and up and up. I think a lot of this sort of stuff these days is all made by 3D printers as well. So you get a bank of 3D printers, and they just make parts quite cheaply. Not cheaply. As in their poor quality, but that they make them cost effectively. Let's put it that way, and they don't have to be made, in the other way. Morris, hey, good afternoon. How are you? How long do we have to say? Oh, well. No, I'm not saying Vivid Black. I just said it. Lockie Harley, hello. How are you? Thank you for joining. Right. So that was that latest story from. I'm not sure how they're pronounced. Wunderlich. I want to say Wunderlich or something like that. Anyway, but if you've not heard of them, go them. I mean, a lot of German manufacturers do make some decent motorcycle accessories as well, not just for Harley Davidson, but all sorts of bikes. So, but there's if you want general Harley Davidson parts, we know that there's another company called Matea. I believe they're German. I'm pretty sure they're German. They produce a lot of parts, although just like a lot of things, they're all getting expensive these days as well. Okay, right. The next, I'm kind of bashing through here on these ones. The next story is from. Let me just cue this up. Right. So this is, well, And it's got to be you're going to have all positive, but you got to have a little bit of negative as well, right? And unfortunately, this is coming from the United States. That Harley Davidson, the National Law Review publication here. I mean, how I got hold of this, I do not know. But Harley Davidson facing its third antitrust class action of the year. So they got, and this is all over the warranty claims and everything like that. But it's a third. They've already had to go through two, or going through two. Now this is the third one as well. So, so people are really getting the knives out for this over in the United States. And again, it kind of comes back to my original point, and when they've just using this marketing ploy to try and sell more Panamera or more Revolution Max engine bikes with its 4-year warranty. Well, why don't you offset this a little bit by just giving all your bikes a 4-year warranty? Then just do that, kind of trying to appease a few of the masses. I think they could do a lot more in trying to repair their public image here a little bit in this regard. I mean, some people will never have a bad word sentenced against Harley Davidson, even if they've been adversely affected, and that's fine. That's entirely up to them, of course. But there's no denying that there's been some shenanigans going on for a little bit too long. Let's put it that way. But anyway, so they're going to be facing their third suit. I mean, it's not a good year for Harley Davidson in this regard. In other regards, they've been absolutely fine, and doing the right thing, or been quite exciting in some other areas. But anyway, so this is let me just show you that again. That's the National Law Review, and they're talking about this antitrust class action of the year again, and it just goes on and on and on. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. This is a Chicago lawsuit now in this one, so I can't remember where the other ones were, but the Chicago lawsuit alleges that the company used its warranty to force Harley owners to use Harley parts instead of quality aftermarket parts available for its motorcycles. Doing so, the suit alleges, violates state and federal antitrust laws. So it just goes on and on. But the thing is, it's not kind of news, because there've already been two others antitrust cases brought. Okay. Right. The next story, let me just bring this up here. I'll just get rid of that one. Get rid of it. Now, this is not really Harley Davidson, but watch out, Harley Davidson. Okay, so this is all about Honda, would you believe? Now, Honda are bringing out for the US market. Apologies, for the US market, they're bringing out this Honda Shadow for 2023. So Honda Shadow Aero Cruiser. Okay, so let me just bring you this up a little bit more. And but the price of it is just unbelievable. $7,799. I'm not 100% sure how accurate this price will be, because this is from an Indian publication, Times Drive. But they're saying that obviously their angle is, will it ever arrive in India? And there was no plans for it, right? But they're saying, this is going to the US market for 2023, but for $7,799 dollars. And also, I've talked about Honda with their Rebel, their CMX 1100 Rebel, their touring version with the fairing and the saddlebags. How, if that will be have an impact, or eat into some Harley Davidson sales, let's say. And I'm just wondering whether this will as well. Now, this is a 750, I believe it's a 745 cc V-twin liquid cooled engine with a single overhead cam and 3 valves per cylinder. The engine comes mated to a 5-speed gearbox and delivers power to the rear wheel using a shaft final drive. So it's a bit of an interesting one. Shaft drive, V-twin, 745. It's got suspension, 41 millimeters telescopic front fork, preload adjustable dual shocks, braking duties, 296 single front disc, 180 drum rear setup. Hey, really? Oh, crikey. I'd say I can't vouch for this. I can't say whether it's going to actually come. The tech on it just seems a little bit outdated. for launching in the US market. But there we go. So look, if we hear any more of this, or if it indeed is launched, and if it does, I've got a feeling this won't impact Harley Davidson sales at all. It's a 745. It's a little bit, until you see it in the flesh, of course, you can't really tell. But say the Honda Shadow, that's an old name anyway. The Honda Shadow Aero cruiser. I don't think this would be as successful as the CMX 1100 Rebel Honda. I think that's going to be much more of an impact, whereas this I don't believe will. However, I could be completely wrong, of course. But anyway, I thought I'd bring that to you because that is what is going on there. Right, so that is the Honda Shadow Aero. Wow. Right. Okay. So we've got all the parts. We've gone through the graveyard. We've got the 4-year warranty. Let's just go. No real news coming out ever since all the big motorcycle shows here. The one bit of news in general away from Harley Davidson is their competitors, really. Well, not really competitors, I suppose, but the alternative, if you will. This comes from Visor Down. It's that Indian motorcycle in the UK. They're launching their 2023 FTR range in London in the 30th of November, which was yesterday, of course, yesterday evening. But the interesting thing here is not. And I featured their bikes in the last live stream as well. It's not that they've done it, but what I find interesting is that they had the whole motorcycle live show for about 10 days there. The bikes were on display, so I don't really see why you're doing this. Surely that's your big live, reveal, as it were, at the motorcycle live show. But anyway, that's me. I mean, if you're interested in the FTRs, and if you're interested in Indian, I think their sporty one here is quite a nice one, actually. They've got some nice versions there. In flesh, it actually looks a lot brighter than that. The white really does pop out there. They've got some other versions as well. I mean, they look nice. They obviously they look nice, I should say. Right, okay. This story here, let me just come back to this. Hold on. This story here, I just thought was hilarious, right? And I kind of want to ask you guys what you think of it. If you hadn't heard about this, right? This is basically a woman driving in a car down the motorway, the highway or the freeway in Florida. Okay, and she passes this lady riding a Harley Davidson. Nothing strange in that, you would imagine, right? But this lady was completely naked. And, you haven't even got the thing. Okay, there we go. This is not nudity, by the way, so just in case, so you don't have to look away. But basically, and that you can't see anything. But basically, there it is. There's a video associated with this. Comes from the Daily Star, I believe. And she's obviously put it on social media. This lady, she was. The story goes, she's just coming up behind this. Pardon the pun. She's coming up behind this lady on a Harley Davidson, and initially she thinks she's just wearing a light colored suit or a skin suit, a skin tight suit. It's only when she got closer that. But the question is not necessarily, why are you riding? Naked. Well, suppose it is. Why are you riding naked? I just don't get it. I just don't get what but I suppose the question for me is not why you're riding your Harley Davidson naked, but what the hell happened beforehand that made you ride your Harley Davidson? Now was it by choice? Well, obviously it's by choice because you got on there and ridden it. But were you somewhere and somebody stole your clothes? Were you gone swimming in the lake or something, and then suddenly stole your clothes? I don't know. I mean, she's riding. I can't really tell what she's riding. It looked. I'll have to see actually if they got the video up here. What was it? Let's have a look. No. I'm just trying to see where it is coming up there. No, that's just some other stuff. Yeah, okay, let's just whatever it is. It's a Harley Davidson, right? But she's got bags on there. She's got saddlebags on there. So you kind of think, well, don't you ever take a spare set of clothes with you or something like that? I just find it funny. If you've heard about the story, let us know. As I say, it was in Lake County, Florida, and so the image is this lady. I mean, I would put her at 55, 60, something like that. I don't know. She might be younger. I might be doing her a disservice here. I don't know. And I assume it was very warm when she's done it. I don't know how old this story is. But she's completely naked. Obviously, she's she's either an exhibitionist or she's got into a situation. I mean, can you imagine pulling up to a set of traffic lights? Well, she did apparently. She pulled up to the set of traffic lights and she was just looking straight ahead, not interacting with anybody. Fair play. You can imagine that she's not going to interact with anybody, is she? She's just going to basically say, "Don't look at anybody. I'm not naked. I'm just going to do my own thing." But there we go. Anyway, so I thought that was really funny from the Harley Davidson world. Would you believe? Right. Okay. What is this big announcement? What is this big announcement? This, I suppose, is, well, the story of the day. Okay, so what is Harley Davidson planning for next year? What is the reveal? What is the major scoop? What is the big announcement? Now, if you've been watching some of my live streams of late, you would have noticed that I talked about Harley Davidson and said, "Well, where are they? What are they doing?" And yes, for in many situations, they're not doing anything still. But now all the big shows are over in Europe, that is. Now we're kind of winding down to Christmas. The next thing to look forward to, because all the other manufacturers have let us know what they're doing, right? Pretty much. They've all let us know what they're doing for next year. But the one that hasn't is Harley Davidson. So this is where, whilst everything starts to go on a downward trajectory in terms of news, in terms of gossip for all the other manufacturers, for Harley Davidson, this is reverse. It kind of goes all the way back up. Now, I'm not sure if this is the best tactic or the worst tactic. I think when all the other manufacturers are doing their stuff in the last 2 or 3 months, coming out with new models, say this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You ask a question, and I ask a question repeatedly, we'll wear a Harley Davidson. But now they've all shot their load and gone off and done whatever they've gone to do and prepare to make bikes, I assume. So Harley Davidson now we're waiting for them. So if you, again, look online, read in magazines, go on YouTube, yeah, lots of rumor, lots of speculation videos out there. And it's only in the last couple of days that I've really started to get some substantial information that kind of confirms, the want of a better word, of new colors, bikes that are going, but also bikes that are coming as well. So the big announcement, which we don't know, of course, what the big announcement is, but the big announcement here, and I'm going to try and put a little bit of background to this. Okay, so a couple of live streams ago, I was talking about, a video I made 2 or 3 days ago. I talk about India and how Hero motorcycles have teamed up with Harley Davidson to start producing mid-size motorcycles and they'll come out at the end of 2023. Within that video, I also said, and I've also mentioned in previous videos and live shows, that Harley Davidson also teamed up with a Chinese motorcycle manufacturer to produce the Harley Davidson, the Chinese Harley, and that's a 500cc. It looks a little bit like the Benelli Leoncino bike as well. You might have seen that. Okay, but when is that going to come out, or is it going to be a different bike, the same bike, whatever? But here's an interesting development from, and I picked this up yesterday. So this is a publication from, again, India. This is India, and they're talking about they're talking about bikes from Harley Davidson that are coming next year, and they talk about the Hero Harley Davidson, right? And let me just bring that back up again. There we go. This one here, the Hero Harley Davidson, it's just a mock-up sketch right now, but this is a 350cc, but it's coming out November 2023, and that kind of coincides with what Hero Motorcycles leaked. They're saying that they're going to be bringing to market 2023, late 2023 into 2024, lots of new Hero or Harley Davidson Hero or Hero Harley Davidson motorcycles, and they're going to be mid-size, right? However, there's also here at the top, it says Harley Davidson, another electric bike. It's an EDT 600R electric bike, but that is coming out. And again, it's another mock-up, so we don't pay attention to the picture, because actually this is an old graphic that we've been using for years and years, right? But they're saying it January 2023. Now, this could be just another name for the Del Mar. I don't think so. But now we know that the Livewire are definitely bringing, as in the subsidiary of Harley Davidson, they're definitely bringing out new motorcycles for next year. Could this be the latest one, the EDT 600R, or whatever it is, whatever Harley Davidson, right? Okay, but look, so that is, well, this is an interesting one, because I've just noticed here that on the bottom left here, they've actually got the Livewire Del Mar, S2 Del Mar here, but that's going in June 2023. So it'd be interesting to see when these actual bikes come out. Obviously, the Del Mar's already out, but whether this other bike comes out. Okay, so that's covered that. However, the Harley Davidson Sportster 500, they've called it, right? And this is the one that looks like the Chinese variant. They're saying that this comes out in February 2023. Right. Okay. So for many years, I've always said that Harley Davidson are not producing bikes that people want to buy, right? In terms of entry-level bikes. Well, obviously now they've finally listened to me, and I've always said they should be producing smaller bikes. And now it seems, yeah, go and team up with China, go and team up with India for lower cost base and produce these bikes. Okay, Harley Davidson haven't mentioned anything. The other company have mentioned something. Press in India, and I believe sources from China are also talking about these bikes as well. This could be the big announcement from Harley Davidson, that they're teaming up with Hero, and they're going to officially tell us. But the big announcement isn't that, because that'll be later in the year. The big announcement is that they're going to launch early 2023 with this 500cc. Now, will it go to Europe and the United States? I think it'd probably have a much better go in Europe actually than in the United States. The other big announcement is that they expand the Revolution Max range. Now, if you watch my videos, I've talked about this for lots and lots of time, a long time. I've talked about this. You really got to take the next step ahead here and to expand the Revolution Max range. Now, what does this mean? Does this? I've suggested in the past that they should make a Revolution Max Tourer. They should make a Revolution Max sport bike, a cafe racer type bike, that kind of thing. There was a story came out this week. Actually, it's a rehash of a story that was saying about 20 odd years ago that Harley Davidson were in talks or pre-production in terms of prototype phase of producing a sports bike that could go onto the World Superbike stage and then later into the MotoGP. So they've thought about this in the past, and obviously they went in a different direction and everything like that. So whether they're looking at sportier bikes again, and the Revolution Max engine, the V-twin, yeah, they're not going to compete on the track, of course, not in the World Superbike, no way. But what they could do is, appeal to a lot of people who want a bit more bite, as it were. Now, could this mean that the Knights that they've already produced, comes with a bigger size engine. Could it be that they're just bringing out a new bike? Now, again, if you watch a lot of these videos, these online articles, everybody's talking about the Bronx again. Would that be it? Well, I'm not sure the Bronx is going to come out as in the name, because it's reached fever pitch again, because Harley Davidson had to refile for the name, the Bronx, again, for the rights of that as well, because apparently if you don't use the product, if you've named something but you don't use that product or produce that product, you lose the rights to that name after 3 or 4 years. Apologies. So they had to reapply for that. So people have interpreted that as saying, "Oh, wow, the Bronx is coming out." So it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to come out. But what the announcement, or what I've heard in the ether, let's put it that way, is that the expansion of the Revolution Max motorcycle range, if you will, could include a tourer, but definitely more in the sport bike. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it come out in January. It could be that they bring it out throughout the year. And that's it. There wasn't any news that I could tell that it's going to come out with a new Softail, or with the M8 engine, or a new Tourer with the M8 engine. I think we're looking at just color changes there. I think we're looking at parts and accessories, maybe electronics, that kind of stuff. But in terms of brand new of that, no, I think that this is where I've always suggested, I've always thought, I've always kind of wished for want of a better word, that that they would expand the Revolution Max range, and I think that's where we're at. The interesting thing is, so you got two big announcements that are coming, I would say. And if you think about it, it isn't really news, is it? It isn't really, because you kind of think about it, well, this is like a logical thing. The logical thing is that Harley Davidson are going to expand their range and bring out brand new Revolution Max engine bikes. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense, because it's your new engine. You're gonna at some point you're gonna make a Tourer, a liquid cooled Tourer. At some point you're gonna make a sportier version, a proper sportier version. You're gonna do something different. You're going to maybe take some past lines from older bikes and just slap in a Revolution Max engine and do something different like that. So as I said in a previous live show, say, right, okay, well, we're actually going to do more of a Tourer now. Revolution, but we're also going to do more of a cruiser, a Softail, and we're going to put a Revolution Max engine in there. Totally redesign it, of course, and all that sort of stuff. So I think that is logical. Whereas with this, the small bikes, I've been crying out for this for a long, long time, and it looks as if there's a strong indication here that you're going to have multiple bikes coming out in 2023 initially, and then 2024, of course, when the Indian Harley Davidson, the Hero Harley Davidson, actually starts producing the bikes. But my real interest is the electric bike for January, and the February, the 500cc, and I believe that is the Chinese bike. Now, will they be formally launched on that date? Will they just be for, let's say, the Chinese market, the Indian market? Or will they be for the European market or the American market? I mean, that's interesting to me in that. And I always try and say this in my videos these days, especially with the videos, but live shows as well. All of this information, it really depends where you are in the world as well, and how it relates to you. And and if the bikes will be sold in your area, because they're not always the same. They're not always the same. In fact, a lot of the time they're not. And bikes are discontinued, or color changes, or different accessories, or whatever, and it really depends where you are in the world as well. So I think that is the big announcement that I think we can expect. The indicators here from this site here, and fun enough, I've actually seen this now in a few other publications where they've not pictures, by the way, they've just written the bikes are coming thick and fast next year, whereas before it was always end of 23, so end of 2023 into 2024. Now they're actually saying, actually no, this 2023 is going to be a big year for Harley Davidson in terms of surprising people, and I think they've surprised people with the Revolution Max bikes. Certainly the Pan America, not so much the Sportster S. I think limited appeal with the Nightster. I think that they've shot themselves in the foot on that one. I think the way they launched it more than anything. But I think it's a decent bike. But I just think it should have come up with a bigger engine. I think the 975 is, obviously that Pan America, the 975. They've talked about that coming out as well. So I think obviously it just stands to reason more bikes coming out. So they're going to launch with a 975 Pan America. I think that's the big one. Then they're going to talk about new models coming with the Revolution Max engine. That's the big announcement. I don't think there's going to be much for M8 riders in terms of touring, in terms of softails. I don't think there is going to be that much there. I'd be very surprised. There's no indication. There's nothing that I'm hearing. There's nothing that I've been sent. No emails that I've been sent, albeit we're not getting much anyway right now. But there's nothing I've been sent right now that is saying that it's going to be brand new M8s out there. Now there could be. It might just be that it's just not coming through. But all the indications that I'm hearing is that Revolution Max engine bikes are coming out. Now, how many, of course, and I would love to see a 5 or 6 come out. I would love it. I would love it, Harley. But obviously, to launch 5 or 6 bikes in 1 year, in one go, possibly not doable, possibly not achievable. But these new bikes, these smaller bikes, I think that's a big move from Harley Davidson. That's the biggest news. That's the biggest news that you're going to have for next year. Hi, Andy. Hi, Andy. I found the HEU's market prices asked interesting. Folk following up new price inflation. Yeah, look, this is insane, isn't it? It's insanity that you're going to buy used bikes for nearly new prices or as new prices. And yeah, look, I think Harley Davidson are playing that card as well. I mean, there's lots of people who've said it, and I kind of agree that they're not having they don't care about entry level bikes anymore because they use used bikes as entry level bikes. The problem with that theory is that the company doesn't get the money, so that kind of breaks down there. It kind of breaks down from a profitability point of view that the Harley Davidson as a company don't get that money off used bikes. Okay, well, for the most part, okay, the dealerships would and that kind of thing, but Harley Davidson don't. But what they do get is interest into their products, so that people will buy that used bike, and then in a few years' time, they might think, well, I'll go and buy a brand new one. Whereas this now with the new option, let's say, of smaller bikes, and whether they come out immediately or whether they come out in a year's time, whether they're just for foreign markets or whether they're going to come to Europe or to the United States, I believe, as I say, that they be much better or much more well received in Europe than they would in the United States. I believe. I could be wrong there, but it's just my gut feeling. But this just is a real clear indication that Harley Davidson are taking a quantum step in a new direction, as they did with the Revolution Max engine, their liquid-cooled engine, for and performance bikes, and they shocked the world, as it were. They shocked people how well they were doing. Yes, there are teething problems. Yes, there are issues here and there. But name me a bike that doesn't have that. Name me a new bike that doesn't have that. A new machine, or anything like that. So Harley Davidson, they've already done that. They've already sent shockwaves through the industry or to the competitors, and now I think they're going to do it again. Now, the next question is this. Sorry, let me have a coffee there, or a slip of coffee. The next question is: Will the smaller bikes that they're going to produce, even the electric bikes, Will they be competitive in price, especially for the manufacturers out there? And this is so if Harley Davidson had to produce this themselves, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't match China and India on price, right? Now you could go on about quality and all this sort of stuff, and that's irrelevant. The relevancy is price. Okay, so if they've got cheap bikes, or say if they want to produce inexpensive bikes, the only way to do it is to team up with a manufacturer in those markets that are already producing. They've already got the infrastructure, they already got the know-how, the way of doing things, and small bikes. And yes, they could look rather generic, I suppose. They could look rather generic, these small bikes. But I think that Chinese 500, whilst we haven't got any clear indication of whether it's out, they are expecting it in other parts of the world. This is what's been expected early next year. So that's the big announcement. That's got to be it. That's got to be what people are saying. They're saying, I haven't heard anything about new M8 engines, bikes. No more cruisers. Softails. No more Taurus. Tweaks, yeah, color changes, parts. I've heard lots about that. I've heard lots of electronics. I've heard lots of that kind of stuff. Icon bike, yeah, I've heard that there's another one coming out, but again, this is unconfirmed. It's all unconfirmed, so I couldn't tell you that. But I'm getting more and more on these smaller bikes, and this is the big announcement. This is what Harley Davidson are going to tell you for next year. Hey, whether it's true or not, whether this actually happens, as I keep on saying to people and to you guys, and also in videos and live streams, we're never going to know for sure until it comes out the horse's mouth. We're never going to know, and all the videos that I may make in the future, we're never going to know until you have something concrete. So the colors change. Yeah, there was some truth in there. Let's say you could see there's truth. So I'll put out a video there. The bikes that are going to be cancelled in whichever markets, whichever countries, we don't know. But yeah, there's some element of truth there. We can see that. But with the new bikes or the big announcement, this is only just early days now. This is just early information, early feelings, and you kind of going by international press here. And this is probably where my channel stands alone from other Harley Davidson channels, let's say, because I'm not really a Harley Davidson channel. I'm a motorcycle channel, but obviously I ride a Harley, so I kind of feature a lot of Harley stuff as well. And it really interests me, Harley Davidson in particular, as a company. But I look at it from a global point of view, but I don't look at it from just a United States perspective. So that's why when you see a lot of videos from American YouTubers, they're talking about, oh, the Sportsters are going to be discontinued. Well, for us, that's old news. It happened 2 years ago. It's not a big deal. In fact, they were phasing out Sportsters many years because the Euro 5, European emissions standards, so they couldn't match those, so they had to phase them out. They're talking about bikes that were discontinued in the United States. And I've fallen foul of this myself in that I assumed, let's say, when they were talking about the Sport Glide in particular, which I ride, that they say, it's going to be discontinued. And I was pumping out information, say, yeah, I've heard this discontinued. But it was only for the United States and Canada, and not for the rest of the world for that time. So that was last year, wasn't it? Last year. So so this is now the way I'm releasing the information, or any information that I have, or I make discussion videos, whatever like that, or certainly in these live streams, I tried to make it absolutely clear to you guys, absolutely clear that these are just information that we're getting collectively. We're getting, anybody can get this sort of stuff, but bringing it to you. But I say it's always on the condition that anybody understands that it may or may not be applicable to wherever you're riding, your location, your country. It really depends. It depends on whatever. I mean, if we take India, for example, because so in some ways they're the biggest motorcycle market, right, in the world. But in some ways they lead, but in some ways they're really behind, right? So in terms of, let's say, some new bikes that they get, well, the new bikes that they get sometimes like a year, year and a half, 2 years after they've been released elsewhere. If they're not Indian brands. So, again, it really depends. It might be new to your market, but it's not a new motorcycle. And I suppose I always say this as well with new model years as well. A new model year is a bike that was produced with updates for that year, or it is a brand new motorcycle that is launched in that year. Okay, so if you got a 2023 bike, it was produced, let's say, after September 2022, and it will start to be stockpiled in wherever and ready to be shipped out. You can still buy 2022 model year bikes in 2023, and they'll be registered as a 2023 bike, but they're not a 2023 bike. They are a 2022 bike. You'd be amazed the amount of people that slip up on that or get confused by that. So you can buy a 2020. And I, as I said, I got a video coming about this tomorrow. But I went to a dealership the other day, and I'm sure you're exactly the same wherever you go. Quite a few dealerships now, they might have got lots of stock in there, but those are 2022 bikes. So if you buy it next year, and they've still got a few of them remaining, guess what? It's a 2022 bike. It's not a 2023 bike, but you'll be registering as a 2023 bike. Yeah. Anyway, right. So that's the model years, I should say. But listen, electric bikes. Oh yeah, I think it's a good bet that more electric bikes are coming out. This EDT 600R, yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Be interesting to see. But it's got alert me when it's actual launched. Okay, so I suppose you could say these are provisional dates, but they're saying this is a launch date. But look, the Dalmar as well, they're saying June over there. I'm not really interested in those, but certainly these three over here, which is the Hero Harley Davidson. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting concept. And they're going to start off with smaller bikes between 350 and 350 and 800 cc. I made a video about that. We just discussed that on live shows. That makes sense. That's the end of 2023. But this 500cc bike here, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one that they're saying February 2023. This is what they're going to come out with. Very tight-lipped about this. And you think, well, it's been developed. It's been marked up. There's had footage of it. There's been photos of it. Why not? Why isn't it coming out? So it kind of stands to reason that it would. And this EDT 600R, yeah. So it could all be, this all could be released here for in January. Now, the January date or the launch date, it's going to be around about the 20th, isn't it? Something like that. It has been in previous years, 20th, 23rd, 26th. I would imagine it's going to be exactly the same. So keep your ears to the ground, certainly, and watch out what other people are saying. You're going to have a few independent manufacturers, independent retailers, independent dealerships may start coming out with some new information. Sometimes they send that to me as well. If they do, and I can corroborate it as well, I'll either make a video or just let you know, guys, in a live stream as well. But anyway, so that is the big news from for Harley Davidson today. Some various stories from around the world, let's say. Very some new bikes, new competition, if you want. Some interesting stories. I just think the naked lady one was just riding a Harley was just insanity there. But the 4-year warranty on Revolution Max engine bikes up until Christmas 2022. Sorry, at the end of December 2022. Why just do it for that period? Why not do it for forevermore? I just think it's a bit of an odd one. But let us know your thoughts on that one. Right, Frank, hello there. How are you? And hi, hello from Australia. Hello there. How are you? So anyway, listen, that's it, guys. Thanks for joining in. I say it was a bit of an impromptu one. I thought I'd bring this to you, but I wanted to bring some stories about Harley Davidson. But I say it really depends where you are in the world and what you're going to get for next year. I, just like anybody else, I'm kind of eagerly waiting what Harley Davidson do for next year. Not only for my own interests, or my own motorcycle, let's say, but what they're going to do, which direction they're going to go, and will they produce smaller bikes or more Revolution Max engine bikes? Those are the future. This is, and electric bikes, of course. Are those electric bikes going to come down in price, just like the rest of the electric bike market? The prices are coming down as well, so we'll see. Right, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It's been emotional, as always the case, and well, I'll catch you again whenever that is. Cheers now.